Welcome to Season 4 of She Lancer, Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. I'm your host, Angela. I'm a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and this podcast are the audio versions of my live Q&A chats on YouTube. If you'd like to be part of the live Q&A chats, come on over to my YouTube channel, VoiceOver Angela. I'm live every Tuesday at 12 p.m. EST. We talk about voiceover, the business of voiceover, audiobooks, and so much more. Find more information on my website, voiceoverangela.com. Enjoy today's episode. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you for joining me again for another live community chat here on my channel. What did I almost say? It's been a long day already. Welcome to another live community chat here on my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Angela. I go off on tangents a lot and get distracted a lot. I am a full-time voiceover artist and audiobook narrator, and my channel is dedicated to those of you just getting started out in this wonderful world of voiceover and audiobook narration. And through my channel, I share with you tips and tricks and techniques and things that I do every day in my own voiceover business. And we get together in these community chats weekly to talk about a topic or five. That's just how it rolls. If you're not new here, then you know that every week we have a poll. But this week, this poll is a little bit different because I wanted to kind of get an idea of what you guys want to talk about. I typically base these community chats on questions that I get most often. And so today's poll is a little unrelated to the topic we're talking about today, but I wanted to get an idea of what it was that you guys want to talk about. So asking you directly, for those of you that tune in every week and participate in the chat. So what topics would you like to see more of in these chats? What would you like to talk about? What do your inquiring minds want to know? So far, we have 26 votes. And looks like the majority of you want to talk more about voiceover types and marketing of voiceover. Because we talk a lot about audiobooks here on my channel because those are the questions that I get most often is everything and anything pertaining to audiobooks. So the options are equipment and gear. Looks like about 4% of you want to know more about equipment and gear. But then you have channels like Booth Junkie and Mike Russell and a few others that talk about mainly equipment and gear. 30% of you said audiobook production and marketing. And then 57% of you said voiceover types and marketing. And then 7% of you said work-life balance, which I think is also important. And that's what almost today's topic was almost about, was work-life balance. So I'm glad that I didn't do that. Okay, so we need to talk more about voiceover types and marketing. If there's anything specific that you guys want to know more about within that category, voiceover types and marketing of that voiceover, then put it in the comments, and then I'll make some notes, and we'll talk more about these things in coming weeks. Yeah, 60% of you. Okay. All right, then let's go over to the comments and see who's here. But today, before I get ahead of myself, we're talking about audiobook versus voiceover file formatting. Actually, I'm going to touch on that really quick because, again, most of the questions I get are pertaining to audiobooks. And a question I hear a lot recently is if audiobook file formatting is the same as voiceover file formatting. Because if you've ever produced an audiobook before, then there's specific standards that the files need to adhere to in order to be acceptable for audiobooks, right? Most of the distribution platforms like Findaway Voices, ACX, of course, and a handful of others are pretty much all the same, meaning that your noise floor needs to be below 60 decibels, minus 60 decibels, I should say. Your RMS, which is just basically a fancy way of saying your average volume of your dialogue, needs to fall between -18 and -23 decibels. And then you cannot have any peaks. And when we say peaks, we mean if you look at your waveform when you're recording something, you have these high peaks in the waveform. None of those peaks can exceed or be any higher than -3 decibels. Um, and usually the RMS and the peak amplitude, the peaks, is usually the hardest part for people to master, which comes with mainly compression, input gain on your microphone, and of course, normalizing to -3 as the very last step. And so finding that sweet spot to get your files to fall within those parameters is usually the hardest part, but you can get there. It just takes a little bit of practice for those of you stuck in that stage. Um, and then, of course, the files need to be in MP3 with a 44/100 hertz sample rate and a 16-bit depth. And I think, am I forgetting anything? But that's essentially what an audiobook file needs to be at. VoiceOver is, I would say the major difference between the two is that you still need to normalize to -3, which I would do because your end volume should fall somewhere between -6 and -3, I would think. Um, but you don't really need to worry about noise floor parameters as long as there's nothing audible in the background of your voiceover files, then you should be fine. So if you're at, -57, -50, as long as there's no hum or anything like that in the background, you should be fine. You don't need to worry about RMS. You don't need to worry about peak amplitude. And your file should be delivered in wave, unless the client asks for something else specific. But they should be delivered in wave because wave is a higher quality uncompressed file. So if you think about it, audiobook files are the way that they are because they need to be a smaller file size, right? Because it's going to be uploaded to a server where there are millions of other files, right? So it needs to be a smaller file. Whereas a voiceover file, we want that to be a higher quality so our clients can take it and then use it for whatever application they're using it for. So those are the major differences, but voiceover files do not need to be formatted the same way as audiobooks. Audiobooks are very specific for a reason. Our voiceover files are not, unless, of course, the client asks for something specific. And you might even come to work with a client who doesn't want you to do anything to the file at all. Completely raw, no effects, no noise gates, nothing, no compression, no normalization. They just want you to record, save it, and then send it, right? Because they'll have an audio engineer on their end that will do what they need to do with it to get it, for whatever it is they're using it for. But that, for mainly what we do at home or home studio freelancers, we don't really have a whole lot of those, right? It's a small percentage of clients that want completely raw, in my experience anyway. Most of my clients need something that's broadcast ready. So effects, normalization, the whole thing. But those are the major differences. If you have any questions specific to file formatting and the differences then please put them in the comments. And again, if you have something specific regarding the poll category, right, voiceover types and marketing that you want to know or talk more about, then put that in the comments as well. Now let's go over to the comments and see who's here. Let's do this, and we'll do this. Who's first in? Dwight. Hi, Dwight. Good morning, Dwight. Good day, Miss Angela. VO goddess and expert. Okay, well, I wouldn't go that far. But I appreciate the compliment. Dylan's here. Hey, Dylan. Good morning, all. Hockey practice has started. Oh, no. And I heard this morning that we were losing our Coyotes. That I think they said tonight was the last game in Arizona. Man, could be a lot of sports fans upset about that. Dylan then says it's on Thursday, so I'll be on the road for Platinum Group. Oh, no. Well, I'm hoping that you can join or pop in. Probably not, but we'll miss you, Dylan. Dylan says, I voted for marketing and VO types because I'm trying to transition out of audiobooks to shorter form VO. Okay. Okay. If there's something, I would imagine marketing is probably what you guys want to talk about most, because that is how we get our business, right? Because you don't want to just sign up on a bunch of platforms and then sit back and wait for, the work to come to you. You want to be proactive and you want to go out there and get it, and that involves marketing, of course, right? Tim is here. Hey, Tim. Howdy, gang. Good morning, all. Yes. Joe. Hey, Joe. Morning, all. Let's be a blessing to others. Yes, let's do that. Rustic Hillbilly is here. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rustic Hillbilly. Dwight says, Dylan, I'm with you, but the long format is a great place to learn and develop character stamina and performance endurance. Good point. Similar to going jogging with 5 pounds of weights on your ankles during training. That's pretty much what it's like. Because once you can master audiobooks, everything else is pretty much easy peasy. Right? Once you can master your DAW and meet the file formatting standards for audiobooks, everything else is just cake. So there's a lot you can learn just by doing audiobooks, for sure. Pamela's here. Good morning, Pamela. Good morning, everyone. Real live sun out this morning. Well, that's good. Yeah. Same here in the desert. Dylan says, completely agree, Dwight, but time constraints dictate shorter projects. Mm-hmm. Because audiobooks are a marathon. They're definitely not a sprint. It's nice to have a nice balance between long form and short form, right? To get a nice mix of the two. So you can have a longer project to work on and then a few smaller ones sprinkled in within that time frame. Masonry Constructions here. Hello. If you love the idea of being a VO artist but are concerned over the marathon and technicals of audiobooks, dive into VO work. Lots of auditioning, start cheap, get reviews, increase rates. It's pretty much how it goes. Mm-hmm. Brian's here. Hey, Brian. Good morning. Where'd it go? Here we go. Robert Reed's here. Looking forward to the discussion. Well, good. It was kind of short. If there's anything specific that you guys want to know about it, about file formatting or anything that I'm just overlooking, then please ask. Mary HPVO says, good morning. Hope everyone's week is allowing you to do all the VO stuff. So far, so good. It's a little bit slow this time of year that I've noticed around tax time in the U.S. Things kind of slow down a little bit. But it usually picks up right after, just before and just after. So if any of you are experiencing a little bit of a slowdown, that's probably what it is. Because let me mute my phone here. It's making all kinds of noise. Okay. But usually this time of year, it's normal. MG Stevens is here. Good morning, Angela and everyone. Happy World Voice Day. Is it really? Is that a thing? Did I miss that? It's cool if it is. Masonry Construction says, formatting for VO work is much less demanding. If your file is quiet and has no obvious flaws like background noise, loud breaths, motorcycles, or barking dogs, they will be accepted by most clients, of course. Yeah, I think that is just like an audiobook. That is the main thing to look out for, that there's nothing going on in the background, right? Because, again, most of our clients will take what we send them and directly use it for whatever application, right? They need it to be broadcast ready, ready to go for whatever application they're using. And they're not going to want to have, a TV going in the next room or a dog barking next door or a motorcycle driving by, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure it's quiet. It doesn't have to be silent, but just no obvious noises in the background. Dylan says, that's why I love it so much. Shorter projects with less mastering. Mm-hmm. Uwe Zochki. Am I saying that right? Sorry if I butchered your name. I hate doing that. Hello from Germany. Well, hello. Hello from Germany. Christine is here, present. Good morning, Christine. Bears VOA says, good morning, Angela. I am still tweaking my sound to meet ACX standards. I'm close, but not perfect yet. And gentle reminder, we're not shooting for perfect here. We don't want to shoot for perfect, right? We want to settle for satisfied, because if we're striving for perfect, we may never get there. We may never move forward. We may never get started if we're striving for perfect. The people helping me may have started drinking at this point. They are my angels. It's tough. It's tough to be in that stage. I know exactly what you're talking about when you're trying to find the perfect harmony between your proximity, your space, your effects, and then your processes, right? They all have to work in perfect harmony, satisfied harmony, because we don't want to say perfect, with each other. And that comes from practice, understanding your DAW and how to use it, the effects that you're using, right? And how heavy you're using some of them, and in what order they're being applied. All of that stuff matters. And then your processes, how well they work with your effects in conjunction with your effects. So getting to that sweet spot takes time. It takes practice. It takes a lot of trial and error, a little bit of hair pulling out, a little bit of frustration. But through that process, not only do you get to that sweet spot or close to, you learn so much about your DAW. You learn so much about the effects that, what they do, how heavy you can go with them, how they work, right? What all the different settings do and how they work. And then in that process, you gain much more confidence in learning to manipulate your own sound and to get the best sound. And then also, if you chose to edit for other people, you could apply the knowledge that you learned from getting your own sound right and apply that to, editing for other people and helping them sound great, right? Like podcast editing, like audiobook editing. You could offer your audiobook mastering and editing services to other people, because there have been plenty of times where audiobook narrators maybe have 5-6 books in queue, right? And they need some help getting some editing, proofing, mastering done, right? They need to outsource to someone else to get that work done while they focus on finishing narrating the other books. So you can offer your services in that regard if you are comfortable with your DAW and effects and things. It's great to have an audio engineer also, do like a booth audit with you and also help you to get your like effects dialed in and maybe even create shortcuts and things and all those things. But going through the process that we were just talking about of finding that sweet spot to get everything working in harmony together by yourself, you learn so much more through that process than just having someone do it for you. So a lot of confidence gained in that step alone. I'm sure they're not drinking, though. I'm sure they're fine. Dylan says, speaking on marketing, I went to a Comic-Con last weekend and spoke with every author there. The vast majority didn't have audio versions of their books and were actively looking for a narrator. Definitely a great way to market yourself is attending those cons, right? Any kind of conference, any kind of gathering, definitely attend it. And it wouldn't hurt to have a t-shirt made with your logo and contact information on it so you can see what you do as you're walking around. Because you may not see somebody who needs you, but somebody who needs you might see you and see what you do and reach out to you. So, food for thought. But that's cool. Thank you for sharing that, Dylan. Dylan says, I handed them a card and have already gotten a few emails. Don't neglect the con and indie author scene when looking for work. Yes, you could also go to book events, right? I know my local Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago had local authors in there promoting their books, like in store. So that would be something else to think about attending, because it's pretty much standard practice, or it's becoming standard practice for authors to have multiple formats of their books. So that way everyone can enjoy them, right? So you would have a print copy, like a tangible print copy that you would have in your hand. You would have an ebook, and then you would also have an audiobook. That way everybody, no matter if they can, if they're hearing impaired or sight impaired or what have you, they can enjoy the book equally in all the different formats. So audiobooks are pretty much becoming standard practice, I think, to have each type of format available for a book. Eleanor Weed. Good morning, Eleanor. Good morning. I'm setting up my equipment today and starting to learn Audition. I work full-time and will be doing this part-time until I can shift over to just this. And you are pretty much in the same place that I was, 6 years ago now, working full-time, doing this part-time, and it can be done. It can be done. It took some time. It took me almost somewhere between a year and a half and 2 years to get to this point and to be able to do this full time. So, and from what I understand, that's faster than some other people. But obviously, the more you put in, the more you're going to get out. That just goes with anything that you set your mind to. It's going to come down to a strong why and a good work ethic, some effective scheduling, right? Finding a balance between when you can dedicate time to getting this done, right? But it can be done. And it's going to take the time that it takes. So if you get to the year and a half mark and you're not anywhere ready to go full time, don't beat up on yourself. It's going to be different for everybody. Everybody has different schedules and different commitments every day. And, so just keep at it is the point. Just keep at it. Have a strong why for why you want to do this, because that will carry you through. A strong why, patience, grace, and a good work ethic, and you will get there. And training, of course. You can't discount the importance of training. Tim says, from a marketing perspective, do you have a template or format for cold email contacting? Template, no. Format, I think one thing I see a lot, and I can definitely agree with this, is that the subject line of your email should solve their problem, right? If you think about what we do, what problems do we solve? We are a voiceover artist, right? So someone looking for us would need a voiceover artist. They would need a voice for their e-learning project, for their commercial, for their IVR, right? So the subject line is, if you think about you getting emails like in your inbox, what makes you decide on whether or not to read an email? The subject line. So if you're solving their problem or addressing their concerns in the subject line, your email will be more likely opened. You'll have a higher open rate, right? But I think creating connections is more important in the beginning, building relationships with people. I think that could be something that we could definitely go over is email marketing in a future chat. I'm going to write that down. Email marketing. That'd be definitely something good to go over. Thanks for that, Tim. Robert said, I was referring to what we and you do every week, sharing ourselves. In the discussion? Yes. Masonry Construction says, beginning with VO work likely will give you a taste of success and allow you to get reviews. Critical. Yep, reviews are critical. It's that social proof. That goes with any business, right? You need social proof. You need someone to go before, that person that's looking at purchasing your services to make sure that, that you're not a scammer, that you actually get what you pay for and everything went well, that you handled it professionally and politely and things like that. So reviews are critical, especially on those like freelance marketplace platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, really any of them. Reviews are critical. Tycon Delar says, I have trouble with noisy neighbors and other annoying outside noise. Relatable. Do you have a video that shows how to remove background noises, or do you need to find a studio or work at 3 a.m.? It depends on what the noise is. If it's a like a constant hum or like a consistent noise throughout your recording, then I would try to find the source of that noise and either remove it or move it as far away from your microphone as possible. And most of the time, the culprits are your computer fans, overhead fans, HVAC, like an HVAC or a refrigerator on the other side of the wall. Anything that can produce a low hum. But if it's something like a motorcycle going by or a dog barking or people, you might have to wait until they go away. There's been a lot of times, or an airplane overhead. There's been a lot of times that I've mentioned that I have a playground about 15 feet outside of my studio. I have like a corner unit. My townhome is like on the corner. And then I have a playground, like, kitty corner. It's right outside. So when the kids are out playing, I can't record. I have to edit. I have to do something else because they'll be picked up by my microphone. Same thing with airplanes, motorcycles, trucks, the dogs barking when they're meeting outside on their walks. You just got to wait till they go away. There are a lot of plugins that you can use for noise reduction, but those kinds of noises, the ones that aren't like native to your recording environment, then those would be better either just to be cut out if you can, if it's in between dialogue, or if it's within your dialogue, you're best to just record those parts, re-record those parts, or just wait until they go. If you're in the middle of recording and you hear an airplane coming, just stop, let it go by, and then pick up where you left off. It might take a little bit of time to kind of figure out what's best to do when, but that is your best bet instead of trying to apply effects to remove that stuff, because it'll just destroy the quality of your voiceover recording if you're doing that. Ooey? Okay. Say ooey only. Okay. I'll call you ooey. Robert Malcolm says, hello. Hello, Robert Malcolm. Out of curiosity, have you ever done a video on your vocal booth? I have, I think, at least one little walkthrough. It's not very impressive. But like I always say, it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to sound good, right? I know I would find it interesting, and I suspect others might as well. I do. I think it's in, I forget which playlist it's in. I want to say it's in the freelance voiceover tips and tricks playlist, perhaps, but it is in there. MG Stevens says, Happy World Voice Day is a real thing. It is to celebrate the human voice and voice health. I love it. Well, let's all celebrate that today. Angel says, striving for, if I can say it, striving for perfection has equated to procrastination for me. And that's pretty much what happens to everybody striving for perfection. Because again, everybody has a different definition of perfection, right? So achieving it is pretty much impossible, because even what you may consider perfect, a client may not. So you have to get to the point where you're just comfortable and satisfied with the way that you sound. If you can meet ACX's standards or an audiobook file formatting standards, be fine with that. Be satisfied with that, right? If you're constantly striving for perfection, you're never going to get there. It's just a never-ending journey with no end. So just get started. Just do it already. Stop waiting. Masonry Construction says, while you learn VO, please, please, please do not quit your day job. Too much stress. If you can pay your bills with your day job, you can actually enjoy learning the craft of VO. I would definitely second and third that. You can supplement your income with voiceover. But if you have a full-time job, I would not quit it until you're I'm not going to give you advice on when to quit your full-time job, but I'll tell you what I did. I decided to leave when my voiceover income was exceeding, and I was starting to lose business. I was losing voiceover business by not being available full-time. I was losing more business than, the money that I was making being employed. And my voiceover income was starting to exceed my employment income. That's when I made the decision to leave. So whenever that point is for you, then that's what I mean, you really need to take a hard look at your income needs, especially right now when everything is so dang expensive. But if you can write down everything that you need to pay and figure out how much you need to make every month, every year, every week, every day, and then set a goal to meet that and comfortably meet that. Because you also have to consider, health insurance is something that's paid through your employer most often. If you're full time, you have to pay that on your own. There's quarterly taxes when you make, X amount of dollars. So there's all these things that you have to now take care of on your own. So I would definitely not quit your day job until you're well into a successful voiceover career. Masonry Construction says, Dylan, brilliant tactic. Go direct to those in need or who don't yet know that they need you. Exactly. Brian says, how much does a booth audit person cost on average? It's hard to say because there are a lot of variables, but the three I always recommend, there's Tim Tippett's, there's Lenny B, and there's Roy Yokelson. And they are pretty different, but they all have different like structure and what they offer with their booth audit. Like, for example, Tim Tippett's has a full like audition course that you can get a booth audit with, right? So you get a course on Adobe Audition and a booth audit. Whereas I think Uncle Roy or Roy Yokelson and Lenny B just have booth audit. So it's all different pricing. But if you go to their websites, and I'm sure it's probably somewhere easy to find those services and check them out. Masonry Construction says, if you're going to do VO, take it as an ongoing project. Marketing over the long haul. Marathon, right? Marathon, planting seeds. And, those seeds will bear fruit. It could be in a week, in a month, in a couple of years, but, it takes time. It takes time to build any business. You must have your own website. You must own the domain name. Facebook is not a website. Yep. Dwight says, Angela, do yourself a huge favor and drop the perfectionist's perspective. You don't need the stress and you slow your success progress. Angela's quote is fire, aim, shoot, or something like that. It's actually, what is it? I can't think of what it is right now, but to his point, just go. And sort of, what is the analogy? When you're building the plane as you're flying or as you're taking off or something like that, building the plane as you're landing, something like that. Just get started and then fine tune your direction and everything else along the way. Don't wait to be ready, because you might never be. You get stuck in that procrastinating stage. Dylan says, thank you, Angela. I needed that encouragement today. Remember the why. Remember the why. You have to have a strong why for this. If your why for doing voiceover or audiobooks is just money, you're not going to get very far. And I've said it before. You're just not, because you have to have passion. You have to have love for what you do. You have to enjoy what you do. You have to have a strong why to do this. And it can't be money. It can't. You won't go very far. Brian says, what are some examples of a strong why? Getting out of parents' house good enough? Well, yeah. But then, of course, loving what you do is definitely going to take you a lot farther than just, money. For me, it was huge book nerd. I'm an avid book reader. I love books. Love books. And I started with a passion for audiobooks, and then it sort of branched out into other things. And I loved the process. I loved, learning the DAW and all of, adding music and doing all the things that you can do and all the ways that you can help people just by using your voice. And of course, my strong why for doing this full time was to spend more time with my son, was to be available to him and for him as he grew up. So that was mine. Masonry Construction says email marketing, very important. Always be building your list. Angela's right. Subject line is critical. How to get one? You can certainly try AI. Ask ChatGPT or whichever for suggestions. Yep, ChatGPT. And what was the other one we talked about in Platinum group last week? Claude? I think it was Claude. That's another one that's coming up. AI script writing, copy maker, AI thing. Oops, sorry, Dylan. To Brian, no, that was the rest of his username. If it's something that drives you and pushes you forward, then it's absolutely good enough. Mine is getting out of my soul crushing 9 to 5 and spending more time with my family. And that's, I think, pretty much a consistent why across the board, I think. Bears VOA says, I already market myself. On ACX, I will message the author or rights holder asking if they are still taking auditions. And if I have experienced something in their book, it creates connection. Absolutely. It's a great way to go about it. Lorna says, Happy World Voice Day from Galicia, Spain. Happy World Voice Day. I'm so jealous you're in Spain. Ready, fire, aim. Thank you. I'm not caffeinated enough yet. Tycon Delar, I appreciate you. Ready, fire, aim. Ready, fire, aim. That's what it is. Eric says, hello. Just checking in. Miss ya. See you Thursday. If you aren't of the Platinum group, get on it. I'm anxious to hear all about audiobooks at sea. I'm sure you guys will tell us all about it on Thursday. Glenn says, thanks for answering my question last week. Of course. That's why we do this, right? Just finished building my home booth yesterday, but feeling under the weather, so I can't start working on auditions just yet. Thanks for the motivation. Well, you're very welcome. Yeah, there's a lot of viral crud going on right now. We have it here in my house too. My son's at home sick. It's going around. Joy says, hello, Angela, and everyone else from sunny 63-degree Southfield, Michigan. Southfield, Michigan. So many tongue twisters today. I can't afford a professional demo right now for local direct marketing. Could I use my DIY demo? Yeah. You don't have to drop thousands of dollars on a professional demo right out the gate because you might not be able to replicate what that audio engineer made for you in your demo. And if you can't, that's a problem. Because the client's going to expect that if they hear your demo. So you're better off in the beginning making DIY demos and then getting training, coaching, and then improving upon your skills, and then improving your demos, as you go. So absolutely use your DIY demo. Masonry Construction says, Angela, talking about takeoff for an airplane during a SpaceX rocket launch, by the time rocket has achieved altitude, it had lost half its weight, burned tons of fuel just taking off. Persist. Just keep going. That is the most important thing. Just keep going. There's going to be a lot of obstacles. There's going to be a lot of forks in the road. There's going to be a lot of things that try to keep you from what you want to do. And it's not just voiceover. It's really anything that you want to do. You just have to keep at it. You have to just keep going. Just keep swimming, right? Eric says it was amazing. Yeah, I read your comments in Discord. About how it was worth it, and everybody's signing up for next year already. It's amazing. I'm sorry I missed it. I have to save that money for the wedding. Dwight says, hello, fellow Angelistas. Do Angela a favor and hit like and share to give this channel a boost. It all matters. It does. It really does. Because I hate promoting myself. I'm such an introvert. I hate saying, hey, like and share and subscribe. But I mean, it does. It does really matter. And it does help to push me into the faces of people that are looking for this information. So it does help. I appreciate that. Eric says, just keep swimming. Yep. Just keep swimming, swimming, swimming. MG Stevens says, could you touch on the major differences for you, if any, on your effects rack for audiobooks versus voiceovers? I use the same effects rack for both. It took a while to get there, but I use the same rack for both. And then, of course, as I always say, I start with, and I think some different people are going to do it different ways, but I usually start with noise reducers first, and then I address anything that needs to be removed or reduced, like any de-esser, deplosive, mouth declick, and then I'll compress, and then, I'll add EQ, and then I'll compress, right? But I know that the order matters as well. And it might be different for different people, but that's why that stage is so frustrating, is getting everything to work in harmony with each other, and getting to that sweet spot. I'm not going to say perfect, the sweet spot that works best for you and every application that you use that effects rack for. So there is no difference. It's all the same. For me, anyway. Bears VOA says, keep jumping those hurdles. I say that for me as well. Nothing will stop me. All the work, sweat, and yes, years only makes you better and stronger. It does. And that's why you got to keep going. Because the further you go, the better you're just inherently going to get with the more practice and training and, being involved in groups and, like my platinum group or workshops or masterminds, just learning and continuing to practice and push your own boundaries, step out of your comfort zone and try new things. The more and more and more you do that, you're just inherently going to get better at it and more confident in the process too. Bears VOA says, and man, that 30 days between Tuesday and Thursday is killer. Sorry if you're going through withdrawals. But it's nice and it's important to have community, I think. For sure. Someone or a group of people to bounce ideas off of, to get feedback from, to learn from. Everyone's got little golden nuggets, in their own experiences and trials and tribulations. So you learn a lot from just being in groups and being involved in the community. For sure. It's important. Says, was supposed to say tears, not years. It's all the same. Right? It's all the same. Tears and ears. All right, guys. Well, it's about that time. I've got to go attend to a sick child. So I'll see you guys. For those of you in my platinum group, I'll see you all on Thursday. If you're watching this on Team Replay, if there's anything that you would like to talk about in upcoming chats, then please put it in the comments. And don't forget to like and consider subscribing. It all helps. And I'll see you in my platinum group on Thursday. But everybody else, I'll see you all next week. And any comments, questions? I had a train, but it derailed, of course. Tangents. God, I need to sleep. Or more coffee. Or both. Anyway, I'll see you all next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to She Lancer Mom Entrepreneur with VoiceOver Angela. That's me. For more information about me, visit my website, voiceoverangela.com, or hop on over to my YouTube channel, VoiceOver Angela. Again, thanks for listening. Have a great day.